Hello and welcome to another video. This is the end of the road, literally the end of the road, and the video's got a wee bit of other meanings for the end of the road which I'll come on to probably tomorrow. But this is day one and the sun's lowering, it's getting towards the end of day one, and the reason I'm saying it's day one is because it's been an adventure to get to this point. It's taken me about 4 hours to get up here, and the sun, as I said, is just going down. In fact, I'll spin you around and so you can see the beautiful landscape I'm in. And I'm quite far north. There's not many mountains further north than this. Well, there are, but there's far more further south. And this is a wee bothy here called, I think it's Schoolhouse Bothy, and I'll give you a wee tour of that in a minute. But yeah, this is going to be a big day tomorrow. It was a big day driving up here. The last bit of the road was, you can bring your cars in here, but and I brought the van in. Don't know if I'd recommend it. I was going to park further up, but I didn't. But yeah, anyway, I'm sort of waffling now. I'm going to get some tea on, and what I'll do is I'll take you over to the bothy just now and give you a wee tour, and then I'll bring you back later on and maybe explain a bit more about my big adventure over the next few days. Oh, Schoolhouse. I'll give you a wee tour of this bothy. I think it used to be an old schoolhouse, funnily enough. And there's an old desk there. I like that. Examinations in progress. Some books, the usual fare. Some sleeping platforms over there. Maybe visitor's book there, which I might sign later on. Yeah, what else is there? See there. Oh, just a wee single bunk here. Another school desk. View out the window. And then through to the second room. Yes, quite a nice wee bothy actually. Not much room, but yeah, quite nice. And you can actually drive to this. Anyway, this is the Schoolhouse Bothy. I'm going to sign the visitor's book, and yeah, I'll bring you back later on. This is the life. Broad view of the sunset. You can see the sun setting out the window. Isn't that just wonderful? What a spot to relax before the big day tomorrow. Oh, I'll maybe bring you back later. If not, I'll see you in the morning. So I chilled in the van and eventually went to sleep. And I would be needing my sleep because the following day I had nearly 42 kilometres and 1700 metres of ascent to tackle. Good morning. It is 6:30 and sunrise is any minute now actually. And as I alluded to last night, this is kind of like the end of the journey, end of a long journey which started way back in the 90s, over a quarter of a century ago. And when it started, Tony Blair was the Prime Minister over in the States. I think it was Clinton, and he was getting familiar with Monica Lewinsky. Posh and Beck's got engaged. The Millennium Dome wasn't even finished. It was a long time ago. And there's other things which I think I might talk about, but I'm not going to talk about it now. I think I might get a bit emotional. Nothing to do with the mountains, but yeah, I've already been thinking about them, to be fair. But anyway, the trip I'm going on today takes me to two of the most remote mountains in Scotland. Hence why I've got the bike. It's going to be about a 32 kilometre trip, and I'm going to be camping out. So let's just get the bike up, all set up, and I'll bring you back when I'm on the trail and heading in to the base of these fine mountains. I think it's going to be a nice day. Might be a bit windy, but I think it's going to be a nice day. I got loaded up and set off on the bike, and ahead of me was round about 10 kilometres of cycling before reaching the bottom of the mountain. Oh, what a morning this is turning out to be. I've done about just under 6 kilometres and I have ascended about 150 metres on the bike. It's been quite easy going, the track's pretty good. But you can see now the hill that I'm going to go up, or the Munro, called Shonavray. It's a fantastic looking mountain. The peak is on the one on the right, this sharp conical peak. I'll talk a bit more about that when I get a bit closer, but it's just stunning. You can't beat well, for me, this time of year and these sorts of conditions, it's spring, there's no beasties about, and it's just wonderful. So what I'll do is I'll head on a bit further, and I'll probably bring you back when I'm dropping the bike off and transitioning into a hiker and hill walker. But yeah, this looks like it's going to be a special trip. First time I've been up this mountain, that might give you a wee hint as to why this is a special trip for me. It's not special for you, but it's special for me. But yeah, I'll bring you back in a wee while. Right, let's get going. Let's go a bit further. As I've mentioned a few times now, this is a kind of milestone trip for me for two reasons and for two summits. That may be giving it away a little. But because of that, I was keeping it for some fine weather, and I think, as you can see from the footage here, I'd kind of waited and got my just rewards because the weather was looking absolutely fabulous. Anyway, I was soon at the point where I was leaving my bike. That's me, got the bike here at the base of the climb, and just need to get everything out of the bag and into my backpack. Yeah, and start climbing up here. I'll turn you around and show you. Oh, right. I do have a bike lock with me, but yeah, this is showing a ray behind me. As I said, the conical peak, that's actually a scramble, and because I'm taking all my camping gear up, I'm not going to go up that. I had planned to. In fact, it gives me an excuse to come back because I think me and Jerry are going to come and do that scramble. I think it's a grade 2-3 scramble. But yeah, I'm also hoping that these mists that are spilling over the summit plateaus are going to clear by the time I'm up there. But let's see. Anyway, let's get my hiking gear on, and I'll bring you back when I'm all ready to go. Okie dokie. Let's get going. It's probably about 700 metres, 800 metres of ascent, maybe a bit less from here because I've done a wee bit of ascent on the bike coming in. I can't remember how much, maybe a couple hundred metres, but yeah, let's get going and let's get up here. I think the views are going to be spectacular, providing that cloud doesn't make its way in. Bring you back in a wee while. The top looked a long way away at this point as I left the bike, but you know what, with the weather being good and the ground being relatively dry underfoot, it made things quite nice, and I soon ascended quickly and the views started to open up to hills such as Anchelac and then these famous mountains over Ascent. It was blowy, but it was absolutely gorgeous, and I soon gained the ridge of the mountain. Oh, I feel pretty good, and I'm probably more than halfway up now. In fact, I'll spin you around and show you. That's the summit just up there. So about another 100 to 200 metres of ascent. But this quarry, wow! And the mists, I don't know if you can make them out, the mists are still blowing in across the top of the plateau and dropping into the quarry, and there's a couple of walk-ins down there. I think I'll get some nice views of them later on, but yeah, what a place. And this skyline here, that's the peak that I'm going to come back and scramble up with, hopefully with Jerry. I think the drop down from the top, the wee descent is probably the most difficult part of it from what I've read. But anyway, this is just fabulous. It's a bit breezy, but that was the forecast. Let's get to the top, not long to go, and I'll reveal all. Right, let's go. Wow, what a day. Oh, by the way, this lock in here, I did look at that for camping here and doing this route in reverse, but it's only, it's not even 10:30 yet, so I can't really pitch up here, which is a shame because that would have been a perfect place for a water source, and there's a lot of flat ground there. But anyway, too late now. Let's go. I'll find somewhere equally as good later on. As I'll mention more than once on this trip, I think somebody was smiling down at me because that cloud, which was quite extensive, lying over the plateau, was just stopping before where I was going, which was the summit of this rather significant milestone mountain for me, as will be outlined in just a minute. And as I went up the ridge and got closer and closer to the summit, I started to feel, well, pretty emotional, as you'll see. Don't think I get emotional, but here we are, 27 years later. The end of the journey. Put yourself together, buddy. Jesus. This is the top of Shutterstock, and 27 years ago, probably about the same time of year, I was ascending Loch Nagar with my pals from uni, Adam and Al, thank you very much, and that was my first Munro. And over a quarter of a century later, here I am, finally on my last Munro, and what a day. I can see the hills of Ascent. As I said, I'm really quite far north. And Ancella, Torridon, Fisherfield. I've had some great adventures on all these hills. Anyway, let's bring you in here and I'll tell you a wee bit more about it. I'm going to get a brew on as well. Whew, 11:15. Not bad. It's just clearing really nicely now. Yeah, so I'll probably come on and tell you a bit later on why I've chosen this as my last Munro, but I'm going to get a brew on here. Today is only 50% complete, and when I say 50% complete, I mean complete as in COMPLEAT, and that might be a wee hint as to the next mountain that I need to go up. But for now, I'm just going to enjoy this last Munro. It actually wasn't too bad coming up here. There's a path most of the way. The last bit's a bit steep, but as long as you can bring your bike in and your car along there, it's not too difficult. I feel really good actually. Weather's helping, obviously. Right, let's get something to eat. Nice coffee. Well needed. And what better way, I can't think of a better way anyway, to celebrate completing the Munros and to have a nice Scotch egg. Cheers. No champagne, no... I didn't want any sort of fuss. There's two schools of thought about this, and I'll maybe talk about it later on. But yeah, there's been some memorable journeys over the years. I'm not going to bore you with them, but some really ups and downs in my Munro bagging journey, which has taken forever to complete. But I've learnt a lot, and I'll maybe talk a bit more about this at camp tonight. But as I said, I'm only halfway today. I really need to get on. This is the easy part actually. The next part's the difficult part, and that's kind of the hill I'm going to do next. It kind of fits in nicely because those hills are difficult. But I'll explain all later on. I'm just going to enjoy my Scotch egg and my coffee. Oh, right, tell you what, there's actually a bit of ice on the lock-ins on the way up, so it is cold, and that wind chill's really cutting through me, so I've had to put an extra jacket on. I've still got my duvet jacket for tonight in the bag, but yeah, it's not warm, but it's beautiful. I mean, the hills, as I said, Ascent, anyway, I've mentioned them all. I will tell you why I've chosen Shutterstock, but as I said, I need to get cracked on. I'll come back to you, and when I tell you where I'm going next, it should make everything clear. But what a day. Ben Gerard over there looking amazing. Anyway, right, let's go. Well, it's beautiful and sunny, but I tell you what, it is blowing a hoolie. Anyway, it's lovely walking ground. Look at this nice gentle gradients, and the view over here. This is the peak that I was talking about. You scramble over, and it looks fantastic. I can't wait. I'm going to definitely come back and do that one. Just this road, yeah. But I am heading away onto Skylight over here, onto a hill. Hopefully, called Carnban, and between here and there is no path, so I'm glad that I've got visibility. Might take a bit of time, it's going to be a bit of bog trotting. As I always say, when there's no path it makes it 2-3 times more difficult, so if it's like this it's fine, but I think down there it looks a bit boggy, so let's go and I'll report back down there, and I'll need to stop and fill up to get some water. There is an issue about trying to find somewhere sheltered for a camp tonight, so it is glowy, but let's worry about that once we get to the top of the second mountain. Let's go. Oh my goodness, right. Just a wee update. I don't know if you can see from around about me, it's pretty rough ground. Well, it's rough ground. There's no paths. But this is a corbett, and a lot of corbett's have zero paths, which make them really quite tricky. And it's just through, I don't know if you'll make out, but through this wee gap between these two rocks, car and van, but I need to go over here and then diagonally across. So it's been a bit rough going. I did have a wee stop and a wee snooze, which was lovely. If you get out the wind, it's quite nice, but the wind's quite biting, quite telling. But very rough ground, very boggy. I've been lucky today because it's been quite a dry spell. Also, we're early in the season, so a lot of the vegetation hasn't come through yet, so it's still quite low. So I've been lucky in that respect. It's actually like a tinderbox. All the dead vegetation from last year. Just one of the reasons I didn't bring a fire with me, a fire pit. It's it's high fire risk at the moment. So anyway, right, let's get going. I'll probably bring you back at the water source, which I can actually see. If you are doing this route, if it's the Clags down, you need to have your navigation head on, because I've even gone off route and I can see where I'm going. So right, let's go, bring you back in a wee while. Right, I'm glad there's some water. I'd marked this on the map, because this is the last sort of water supply before getting to the top of the second hill. I was kind of worried it might have run dry given how dry it's been, but there's plenty of water in it, so yeah, I'm just going to stop here and get some, fill up my water to the full. I'll make my pack a bit heavier for the next wee while, but not too far to the summit, so I'll not be carrying it too long. Let's get going. Glad that I've got some water now. I'll make the pack a bit heavier, but well, I need it. I'll be having a coffee in the morning, and probably a coffee when I get to camp. I don't know where camp is going to be yet. That still needs to be figured out. But let's get this second hill done. Shouldn't be too far now. I've got about 100 metres of ascent to go, and then I'll be able to give the game away. Although you probably already figured out the significance of peak number 2. If not, you've not got long to wait. Let's go. You can just about see Shutterstock in the background there, and it's just a tiny wee speck of a mountain, and that's because it was quite a distance between this top and the next top, and as I said, it was really quite rough ground, little in the way of paths, but as I approached the summit ridge, things got a bit easier, and the grass and underfoot conditions were a bit better, but it really was quite a trip to get to this summit and the second top of the day. Oh, right, here we are on the summit of the Corbett Cairnban. I think it's about 860 metres, and this is my final Corbett as well. So I'd planned it years and years and years ago to do Shutterstock and this one. But I'll tell you what, I'll talk a bit more about it once I've got the camp up, because it's still relatively blustery. The winds are dying down a wee bit, but yeah, I want to go and get the tent up, and I'll bring you back then and explain a bit more about why I chose these two. We've got a quick bite to eat now, and I'll see you in a wee while. I didn't linger too long on my final Corbett summit because there was another chap there who was painting, which I'll talk about in a minute or two, but next up was trying to find a spot to pitch the tent which wasn't fully exposed to the wind, which was harder than it looks. Oh, right, I need to find somewhere to pitch. That's 16.5 kilometres since I left the bike, and about 1,300 metres of ascent, so with this big backpack on, my body is starting to protest. So I'm going to try and find somewhere to pitch around about here, because the views are rather spectacular. Hopefully I'll show them in just a minute. Right, let's find a pitch. I think somewhere around about here, I think. Let's get this pack off anyway. Let's get the tent up. Wind's not quite as ferocious down here, thankfully, at the moment. Right, that's the tent up. I just need to get the sleeping system in, but you can see the wind's a lot lower here than it was, but every now and again it's gusty, so the scarp's great. I mean, it's handles a lot worse than I was getting today, but the views here north, I can see the whole of the Ascent Hills, you know, Canis, Sullivan, Stack Polly, Culmore, Culbeg, all these ones, so it's going to be a lovely spot. And the last 3 nights in a row there's been an aurora display as well, so if it stays clear, there might be one tonight. That might be, you just can't tell with the Aurora, but at least I'll be in the prime position if it does go. But anyway, I'll bring you back later on once I'm in the tent and all set up. There was actually a chap painting at the summit, one of the most remote corbetts, so it was a lovely first person I've seen all day. So it was nice to chat to him up there, but I didn't do too many bits to camera because of that. But that was my final corbett. I think I might have said that. So two completions today. Yeah, pat myself on the back. I'll pat myself on the back when I get this tent up. Right, let's get the sleeping system out. Well, it's getting on a wee bit now. It is 6:30 and the wind's picked up again. I'm in quite an exposed spot, and I knew that when I put the tent in, but I was kind of hoping that when I put it up there was no wind at all. Well, there was a slight breeze, but anyway, it's a scarp. It's been a worse, and yeah, I've had my tea. There's actually a wee bit of cloud coming in over there, which I'm a bit worried about. Let me spin you around, you might be able to see it. Yeah, you probably make out on the right hand side it's starting to spill over, and that's what it was like when I started to climb this morning. So I'm hoping it's not going to come this far over, because it'd be nice to keep an eye out to see if there's northern lights, but that's going to be pretty impossible if they're in the clag. So anyway, not much I can do about it, is there? So let me tell you a wee bit about today. I'll get back in the tent and I'll tell you the reason why I chose these hills. It's actually quite nice when I'm out of the wind. It's quite pleasant. Yeah, so why did I choose Shutterstock and Calm Storm? Well, the reason is, when I started doing the Munros, I was obsessed. I've said this before, I wouldn't go up hills that I'd already been up, and I had to sort of tick off new ones and what have you, and that went on for the first couple of years. And as most Munro baggers will know, as soon as you tick off all the ones within a day trip, you have to go further afield, and it became a bit more difficult to do the Munros. So I started to do the corbetts at the same time, and I got to a point maybe 15 years ago, maybe more than that, maybe 20 years ago, and I thought I could maybe try and finish them off on the same day. And by that point, all the obvious ones, there's so many you can do together, but most of the obvious ones, I'd done the Munros or I'd done the corbett. But Shutterstock and Calm Storm, I hadn't done either of them, probably because of some of the most remote mountains in the country. So that was the story, and that's why I chose these two. And yeah, I've not done a Munro. I think the last time I did a Munro was the Millardach round, maybe 3 years ago, when I did get an amazing display of the Northern Lights in that winter trip. And I've probably had one or two corbetts to do for a few years as well, and yeah, things just get in the way. I think, as I said, I was obsessive to start off with, and I probably, had I remained obsessive and not decided to do the corbetts, I think I would have done them in my early 20s. I would have got them done in a couple of years, but I'm kind of glad that I didn't. I've taken my time, and it's just things happen. Would I say I'm a bagger now? Well, here I am bagging. Pros and cons, I've discussed it in other videos, and I might do another video about that soon. But anyway, things like family came along. I mean, you've got family, that's the biggest adventure you're gonna have. It makes corbett bagging and Munro bagging look like small fry. And I think that's why I got emotional up on the top there. It was nothing to do with, I've spent all this time bagging mountains and effort that's gone in, and it's taken 27 years or whatever. It was more the fact that it took me back to right at the start. I don't know why. It's maybe because I haven't thought about completing since all those days, and that was in my early 20s when my parents were both alive. I had my whole life in front of me. It's where my children are now. My kids are 18 and 21, and I don't know, it puts a lump in my throat thinking about it. That it was just a different me back then, and so much has happened since then. And yeah, my father passing away quite recently as well. I know I would have been on the phone to him. Yeah, I'd have been on the phone to him on the way down the road to tell him. So yeah, that's it. So the other thing is, which are better, which are harder, all these questions. Well, I think I can safely say, in my personal opinion, the Corbetts are a lot harder than the Munros, and there's various reasons for that. I think the Munros, there's rarely that many Munros that you can't do 2 or 3 in a day, sometimes up to 7 in a day. Whereas with the Corbetts, there's only a few where you can do more than 1 in a day. And the ground's much rougher. Paths make a big difference as well. So I would say that in my experience, the Corbetts are harder than the Munros. It might upset people there, but everyone's different. But anyway, right, I'm going to shut up now. The reason I've done this bit to camera now, I was going to wait till sunset, but if this cloud comes in, then might not get much of a sunset. So yeah, I'll bring you back later on, hopefully, one way or the other. Well, the wind certainly didn't abate. It was blowing. You don't really see it or feel it, but from this footage, but it was quite blowy. However, inside the tent, where I was kind of out of it, was actually really quite pleasant, and I just kind of sat and chilled, and it was a perfect spot to watch the sun dip below the horizon. It was a fantastic afternoon. Look at that. This is what it's all about. It's maybe a wee bit breezy, but it's glorious. The sun's dropping down over Ullapool there. It's just absolutely stunning. But it is very, very windy, so let's get back to the tent. And that's exactly what I did. I retired to the tent and watched the sun go down, and it was just lovely. It was a lovely, lovely evening, and I had some nice Glenlivet whiskey, a special one to mark a special occasion. Might not be champagne, but I'd prefer to have a nice single malt to celebrate this completion. It was a lovely evening, and it was about to get even better as some other lights started to illuminate the horizon. Right, hopefully you can see me. There's a lovely display of the northern lights going on, which is amazing. I can see it from the tent door. Hopefully you can see it behind me, just on the video. And the wind's dropped down a wee bit. It's quite late now. It's about 11:30, but it's to drop more and more as the night goes on. So I'm going to set up some more time lapse, which I'll put up now. Hopefully it'll show the northern lights quite nicely, and yeah, I'll probably see you guys in the morning. I'm just going to concentrate on taking some photographs now, so yeah, catch up with you soon. So although it had been super windy, I was extremely happy at my pitch, which faced north, and you can see the lights here building in the arc before exploding to the north over the mountains of Ascent, and the cloud inversion or temperature inversion scudding the clouds by below me. It was lovely. It seems like every time I'm going out at the moment there's aurora, and that's due to it being at the height of the solar cycle. I think it's starting to diminish in the next few years, so make the most of it. Anyway, here's some time-lapse footage I caught of the Northern Lights. Good morning. There's no wind. I woke up at 5:30, which was an hour ago, and it was still, the tent was getting shook around, but that was forecast. It was to drop suddenly round about this time, so the forecast got it spot on. But I don't know if you can see the sunlight on this side of the tent, but I'm going to look out the front and see what it's like outside. Let's have a wee gander. Oh, look at that. Isn't that looking nice? Wow. Lovely. Right. Oof. Let's get a brew on. Right, whilst I'm brewing up my coffee, just thought I'd talk a bit about the camp spot. It's a wee bit frosty here actually. It's just a touch of frost on the moss here. Anyway, what a spot this is. And it was actually relatively calm when I pitched the tent yesterday. It was a wee bit of a breeze, but it picked up. I went away to get water actually. I walked for about, I don't know, 2 or 3 kilometres that way to get more water. So I had enough for coffee this morning. So when I came back, it was just blowing a hoolie and it got really windy. In fact, I've even erected a wee, I was quite worried about the tent. It must have been gusting up to about 40 or 50 miles an hour. So I erected a wee stone wall behind the tent. But anyway, what a morning. Slept all right considering the wind. It was cold in the night. I had to put my jacket on. And yeah, as you'd expect with the frost being on the ground. But what a way. I mean, somebody's looking down at me with the weather. And you know, I did have to endure the windy night, but getting the aurora last night and then waking to this, there's not a drop of wind now. It's just glorious. So anyway, let's get this coffee and I'll report back later on. It was a stunning morning. It was actually quite pleasant with there being little wind, so I just took my coffee and went over to the edge and enjoyed the views and took it all in. What a fabulous place to be. Okay, that's me got everything packed away and leave no trace and all that sort of jazz. So I'm going to head down back towards the bike. There is a bothy down here. I'll maybe stop a bit further down and just go over a few of the things that I've learnt during my bagging journey over the last few years. Right, let's get this big pack away. Let's go. Oh, I might have a wee seat here. Wow, what a spot. What a spot. Yeah, let's have a seat here and I'll talk a wee bit about what the Scottish mountains and hills have done for me over the years and what this journey has done. It's more than just ticking off hills and keeping fit. Anyway, let's have a seat here. I think one of the things it's done for me is it's introduced me to the Scottish landscape. That sounds almost absurd now, having been doing it for so long. But I remember buying and being inspired by Cameron and McNeish's book, and Colin Baxter, I think, was the photographer when I first started. And of course, the the first few hills I did, well, the first hill was Loch na Gar, and then I did Benavurd in the Cairngorms, and Ben Ann with my pals who I mentioned earlier on. And then when I got home, my dad came out with me and I was doing all the ones round about Glen Shee and Ben Lors, which I've fallen in love with again, by the way. They're absolutely beautiful, but what really inspired me was flicking towards the end of Cameron McNeish's book and seeing mountains up here. One's like Shaunavray, or Shaunavrai, however you pronounce it, Shaunavrai I think it is, anyway, and Anchilach, and just thinking, oh my god, I didn't even know these places existed in Scotland. And the Coolin, and oh my god, so that was a big inspiration. But aside from introducing me to these amazing places, it also kind of taught me to enjoy life. When you're away on these trips, it takes you away from the everyday stresses, and it kind of reiterates what's important in life. You're away from, you know, the 9 to 5 and the rat race. And you know, I've said this many times, it's almost like a form of meditation getting into the hills for me. And it really is great for physical health and mental health. And I did talk a wee bit about a video a few weeks ago about how, you know, my anxieties when I go hill walking, but they don't outweigh the anxieties or the way I'm de-stressed by getting out to the hills, and the anxieties from home, which this takes me away from. Maybe not from home, but from work, you know what I mean? And yes, it's just taught me that. It's taught me, you know, you've got to be tough to do these things, perseverance. You can't give up, and that, whether that is giving up on doing the Corbetts or doing the Munros, or even giving up going up a hill when the weather's bad, or coming down steep-sided slopes like I've just come down. I'm looking back up to where I camped. It's a long way, and it was very steep coming down there, but I would never have done that at the start. You learn how to look after yourself. You learn by your mistakes as well. I think you just become an all-round better individual. God, I'm spouting some now, haven't I? So I think I'll shut up now. But yeah, I think at the start, I think I'd still classify myself as a bagger. But now I think what bagging's done, it's just allowed me to appreciate getting out, whether it's going up hills I've been up a million times, or if it's a new hill or a new area. And also, you don't always have to go to the peak. Some of these corries here are the most impressive parts of the mountains. So yeah, anyway, let's get down, let's get back to the bike, and still a long way to go. Right, let's go. Oh yeah, but what a morning. Beautiful. Right, let's go. See, there's quite a few folk down at the Bothy, so I'll probably not head in there. Let's get back to the bike. It was lovely in the sunshine down in the glen, but there had been a frost, which made the going even better along the spongy ground. And before long, I was on the loch side shore and passing the Bothy, which I skirted around the back because, as I said, there was, I don't know, quite a lot of people in there. Had it been empty, I would have given you a wee tour. It gives me an excuse to come back, doesn't it? But yeah, once past the Bothy, I was walking along beside the loch, and oh my god, the reflections of the mountains was just perfect. It was really just perfect. My bike's still here, that's always a good sign. Oh, what a journey that's been. Journey today and yesterday, 3 days to complete the Munros and the Corbetts. I couldn't have asked for better weather, you know, inversions over Ascent, the aurora filling the sky, beautiful weather, very few beasties because of the time of year. It's just the perfect way to finish it, and what a journey it's been for the last 27 or whatever years it's been. It's really been a journey of a lifetime, I suppose, and certainly memories that will last a lifetime for me. And for those of you who do the Munros, irrespective and the corbetts, irrespective of whether you take over a quarter of a century or half a century or do it in a couple of years or a few months, you'll have memories that will last you forever, and you know, that'll teach you things as well, make you a better person and all that. So yeah, just wonderful. And even for those of you that aren't baggers, or who maybe started bagging and haven't finished, a bit like me, for the last 25 years, 26 years, it just introduces you to these wild places, and the benefits of coming out and being in them is, well, you know what it's like. You don't need me to tell you. It's just great to be out and experience these things. And perhaps for me, had I not been a bagger or an avid bagger, to start off with, it might not have developed into what it is. So what's next? Well, I think I must be about 80% through a second round of Munros. Or I could start the Grahams. No, I don't think that's it for me. I think just getting out in the hills does it. That ticks my boxes. So anyway, I'm kind of waffling on here. Still got a long way to go back out. I don't know if I mentioned, but this is a pretty remote spot in terms of closest roads. You know, if I was to walk out, it would take me 4 or 5 hours, I think, to get to the closest road. So in terms of accessibility, you're kind of out there, in UK terms anyway. Right, going to end the video here. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. As always, stay safe out there. Yep, and I'll see you in the next adventure. Right, the adventure's not over for me yet. Anyway, let's go. As opposed to showing you some footage of me riding off into the sunset, I thought I'd share some memories that stretch back over a quarter of a century here. Stats are at the end. Thanks for watching, folks. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you next week for another adventure.